Meeting of the University of Pittsburgh Board of Trustees. My name is John Verbanek, and it's my pleasure to serve as chairperson of the board. This meeting has been duly advertised as a public meeting in accordance with the Sunshine Act and is therefore open to members of the public as observers. The meeting is also being streamed on the university's YouTube channel. The meeting is being recorded and will later be made available via the Board of Trustees website. A quorum is present for the transaction of business, and participation in the meeting is limited to members of the board and to those the board has invited in advance to take part. Before diving into our meeting, we have a few housekeeping items. First, I'll ask that the minutes of this meeting reflect that on September 10th, 2024, the Board of Trustees met in executive session as permitted by the Sunshine Act regarding a confidential personnel matter. Second, each fall, the Atlantic Coast Conference requires the board chairperson to sign an attestation that, 1, responsibility for the administration of the athletics program has been delegated to the Chancellor. 2, the Chancellor has the mandate and support of the board to operate a program of integrity in full compliance with the NCAA, conference, and all other relevant rules and regulations. And 3, that the Chancellor, in consultation with the faculty athletics representative and the athletics director, determines how the institutional vote shall be cast on issues of athletics policy presented to the NCAA and the conference. I would ask that the minutes of this meeting reflect that Chancellor Gable and I have signed the ACC attestation. We're excited to be meeting in the Assembly today. Key to our development as a board and as an effective board is an effective board education program. As we build the board calendar for future years, we will work to incorporate meetings at university facilities as they align with our agendas and developments associated with the plan for Pitt 2028. As part of our governance improvements, we've also increased the number of meetings we hold per year. We're cognizant of the demands our meetings put on the William Pitt Union, especially during peak times of the academic year. As such, we're looking for ways to reduce the burdens on the union and free up space for our students to the extent possible. The Assembly is a reflection of Pittsburgh's storied history of innovation and a bridge to the future. The public-private partnership is advancing life sciences development in critical areas such as cancer biology. Later in our agenda today, Dr. Anantha Shekhar and Dr. Rich will share an update on the health sciences and the life-saving work going on right here in the Assembly. Tours have also been made available for trustees to meet our researchers and see their work firsthand. Finally, in a moment, I'd like to take a moment of silence to recognize Pat Pecora, Coach P. He was head coach of the Pitt Johnstown Mountain Cats wrestling team for nearly a half-century, following his own impressive wrestling career at West Liberty State University. He led the Mountain Cats to 661 all-time wins, 2 NCAA Division II national championships, 25 NCAA regional titles, and 8 straight PSAC championships. Coach P established himself as the all-time winningest coach across all divisions of the NCAA, NAIA, and junior college wrestling. He has also been celebrated across the country, earning inductions into several halls of fame, including the NCAA Division II Wrestling Hall of Fame. Pat Pecora was a great coach, teacher, colleague, and a friend. He will dearly be missed by the University of Pittsburgh community and beyond. Please join me in a moment of silence for Coach P. Thank you for that. And with that, I will move on in the agenda and move for a meeting of approval minutes, or approval of meeting minutes from our July 12th, 2024 public meeting. Those minutes have been circulated in advance of today's meeting and were included in our materials. May I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Aye.
Any comments or correction to the minutes? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. The minutes are approved. Next, we will move on to the Chancellor's annual report. And the University of Pittsburgh Commonwealth Act requires that the Chancellor make an annual report to the Board of Trustees no later than October 1st of each year. The Commonwealth Act further stipulates that the Chancellor's annual report be transmitted to the Governor and to members of the General Assembly. Chancellor Gable, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairperson Verbanek. Good morning, members of the board. I'd like to begin by noting that today is HR Professionals Day, which is the day that recognizes the importance of HR professionals and the role they play, and raises awareness about the field. And I'd like to note that we have with us today Vice Chancellor James Gallagher, who is our HR professional, and I'd like us to note the important role that he and his entire team play with everything that happens within the entire university system. So thank you for everything you and your entire team do for us. So I'll start with everything that happens in Harrisburg. So members of the board, the last time we met in July, the state had passed the budget just the previous day with their funding for Pitt, which allowed us to come before you and pass our balanced budget, which was very nice. The year before that, the process had stretched into December, so that was a very nice and much smoother process for us, which we were very grateful for, and we express our appreciation to all of our elected officials in this room and, of course, across the state who had a hand in that process. We are moving forward this year into our advocacy, and we will keep you updated on that as that process unfolds. We are now well into the fall semester. We took important steps over the summer to prepare for this fall. It's a very interesting time we find ourselves in. We spent much of the summer preparing for it. Most notably, we took important steps to address common questions that you see across university campuses around freedom of speech and the policies related to freedom of speech. Importantly, we didn't make any changes to any of our policies, but we did consolidate all of our existing policies into one accessible location using a robust shared governance process that's easily utilized and understood and found on a website, freespeech.pitt.edu. The goal there was to provide easy access to information, very clear instructions, and a lot of support so that our community had a clear understanding of their free speech rights, which of course we very much support, but also a very clear understanding of how to exercise those rights responsibly. We also, through the Provost Office, extended our Year of program, which last year had focused on the Year of Discourse and Dialogue, and we extended that into a second year. The intention in extending the Year of Discourse and Dialogue through the Provost's Office under the leadership of Dean Carissa Slaughterback and Vice Chancellor Clyde Pickett was to have all of this combined to meet this moment in our community. It doesn't mean that we suddenly have full agreement across our community. It doesn't mean that this time isn't difficult. In fact, it's a full recognition of the difficulty of this time, a full recognition of the disagreement across this time, but a way in which our community to have the tools to address the disagreement, to address the difficulty, and to help us facilitate across this disagreement and difficulty in order to continue to achieve educational outcomes, to continue to function safely, to continue to be able to engage as a community and a learning community at that. This allowed us to launch full swing into the fall semester, which we saw with a wonderful welcome week, where we had a great time welcoming one of the largest, most academically qualified classes. We had a very strong, very well organized welcome week launched by our student affairs team, but in a new partnership with our communications team, where we also saw the launch of the It's Possible at Pitt brand, which was one of our Plan for Pitt goals for this year. And fast forward, here we find ourselves having already celebrated homecoming last week, and just reflects the quick pace of the fall semester as it always goes by so very quickly. In the meantime, we also celebrated just a few weeks ago over on the Greensburg campus the official launch of the David C. Frederick Honors College at Pitt Greensburg. In addition to naming Frank Wilson the interim associate dean of the Frederick Honors College at Pitt Greensburg, this new partnership will include opportunities for Greensburg students to compete for the same national scholarships such as the Fulbright, Truman, Rhodes, and Marshall Fellowships that the Honors College students are able to compete for here in Pittsburgh. It's part of our plan to increase student awards through the Plan for Pitt. It's part of the entire Honors College portfolio that the students have been enjoying, and it's a great opportunity for us to really reflect the idea that students can start anywhere but also go anywhere as their own desires to experience whatever kind of learning environment they seek is available to them no matter how or where they want to study as part of their journey here at the University of Pittsburgh. I want to express our appreciation to Trustee David Frederick and his wife Sophie Lynn, who came to attend the event, as well as Board Chair John Verbanek, Vice Chair Lisa Golden, Trustee Val Njai, Trustee Emeritus Jack Smith, President Gregerson, and all of the faculty there, as well as Dean Nicola Foote. The students will have this incredible opportunity, which is just part of a larger plan, and it was a very wonderful and exciting day and the beginning of a great journey, I think, for all of us. This month, we also had the pleasure of experiencing the topping off ceremony at Pitt Bioforge, which marks the completion of the steel structure of our biomanufacturing facility at Hazelwood Green. This is a major milestone, not only in the construction of the building, but of the entire project and its philosophy and strategy as the construction continues towards a completion date of the facility in 2026. We're very excited about how this project is unfolding and what it means for the research and strategy and moonshot that Pitt Bioforge represents. Members of the board, as you'll recall, we reached a historic labor agreement with the faculty union last spring. Today, we're underway in an election to decide whether eligible Pitt staff members will join the United Steelworkers. Ballots were mailed to eligible employees in August, and the counting of those ballots began on September 25th. That process is expected to take some time before preliminary election results are announced. In addition, certain graduate students have filed for an election with the PLRB, and we've been working cooperatively with the steelworkers and the PLRB to discuss the composition of the unit and to prepare to proceed through the election process with the PLRB and the steelworkers. And we'll keep you updated on that process as it unfolds over the coming weeks and months. Next, we have some shout outs that we'd like to share with you as one of our happy traditions. I have a shout out for Vice Provost Mark Harding and the Admissions and Financial Aid team for their excellent work under less than ideal conditions, considering some of the well-documented FAFSA challenges in helping us welcome an amazing incoming first-year and transfer class. A shout out to Amanda Godley and the Graduate Studies team. We saw a 7.5% increase in graduate and professional applications. A shout out to Pitt MD PhD student Anna Lee for her startup winning the prestigious $1 million Holt Prize in London, which is a worldwide student competition that challenges students to solve the most pressing global issues with viable business ideas. She developed an electronic stethoscope and mobile app that teaches users how to monitor their own heart and lung health for telehealth applications. A shout out to the Panther football team and Coach Narduzzi for a historic 4-0 start for the first time in 24 years. Shout out to women's volleyball for their winning streak and the first #1 ranking in program history. A shout out to Pitt men's soccer, who as of Tuesday is also ranked #1. and the first time we have 2 programs ranked #1 in program history. And members of the board, this puts us in a very nice position to start to pivot to our annual report. So, at the April meeting, the board approved and endorsed outcomes, baselines, and targets for the Plan for Pitt 2028, the latest chapter in our strategic planning. And that pivot allowed us to look at work streams that emerged from a shared governance process where we did essentially a listening tour across campus and with our stakeholders to capture the creativity and initiatives and ideas across our community and align them with values that we had seen in existing strategic planning processes, and then translate them into measurable impact, KPIs, timelines, and something that we could look to see how we were progressing, look to for inspiration, and look to as an architecture we could use to tell our story. Since April, our Pitt community has been working together to advance those work streams through the plan. So I'm pleased to present to you the 2024 University of Pittsburgh Annual Report. You have before you the printed version of the report today, but for the rest of our community, it's available at chancellor.pitt.edu online. Now, this is the first annual report under the new strategic plan, so it's a transition. We'll receive feedback, I'm quite sure, from all of you and from our community, and so we are perfectly open to having this process evolve year to year as we make sure that we use this process to keep our community informed on how we're progressing and make sure that it is a robust tool for transparency and open reporting of how we're doing and our outcomes. The strategic plan does 2 things. It keeps us updated on how we're doing year to year, as several of these initiatives have annual deadlines and indicators or KPIs to let us know whether we're hitting targets that we identified for ourselves. But it's also a storytelling tool. So it's not necessarily the same as one would see in, for example, corporate America, where we're hoping to beat the street or something like that. It's really more of a public document, a way for us to tell our story. But I want to start with some of the more technical aspects and let you know where we are on our deadlines for 2024. So we had a set of several initiatives that had 2024 deadlines, and I want to start with those. The ones that have been completed already include the launch of the Pitt Finish Line grants. We've talked about those several times already. These are finished, or in other words, they are available. These are one-time, non-renewable, need-based grants that provide just-in-time financial support for undergraduate students who are within 1 or 2 semesters of finishing their degree. This supports areas like improved graduation rates and lowering student debt, obviously 2 key goals of the strategic plan. We've launched the Wellness Concierge and our Wishes Survey that allow us a comprehensive approach to student well-being and personalized support to help our students thrive, 2 other goals. We've launched our Center for Excellence in Online Education, which we are branding as Pitt Edge, which is being led by Dean Tony DeLito. Its mission is to expand online learning, but also in ways that allow us to focus on workforce and also increase the access to programs across a diverse set of populations. We've also updated our economic impact study that had a 2024 deadline. It's notable that it shows a 24% increase in our economic impact from just 2 years ago, which translates to an impact of $5.2 billion to $6.6 billion in annual economic impact from the university. We've established our first ever Times Higher Ed Impact ranking. We are one of only 46 universities ranked by Times Higher Ed, and we rank 24th. And we've launched our Digital Future Initiative. This is one of our moonshots, which will elevate Pitt in the AI space as a digital leader in the future of education by embracing digital technology in intersectional ways to serve underserved communities who may not otherwise have access to AI and other digital tools. And we've launched the It's Possible at Pitt brand and strategic communications platform. And I'll give you one specific example of this, although you've seen many, but this is our recent ACC spot, which plays on the ACC network during football games.
There is no patent. Could you patent the sun?
One of the ways in which we think of athletics as the front porch of the university. So there are a few more 2024 initiatives left to complete, but we are on pace to complete them before the end of calendar year 2024. These include our administrative cost analysis and benchmarking, which is our commitment to monitor our overhead costs relative to our peers. We are on track to complete this on time. We are on track to do our baseline for our analysis of representation amongst our staff relative to the Pennsylvania census. And we are on track to update our academic progress rate baseline in athletics. We're doing this because the NCAA is currently doing an evaluation of an alternative to the academic progress rate as a mechanism for measuring the academic progress of student athletes. So we'll give you a report on that when those are updated before the end of 2024. So those are the trees, if you will, the 2024 initiatives. We also want to look at the forest. The forest are the 5 pillars of the strategic plan: the cultivation of student success, propelling scholarship, creativity, and innovation, which is our research enterprise, being welcoming and engaged, promoting accountability and trust, and our moonshots, the idea that it is possible at Pitt. We are making progress. We're very pleased with how things are going writ large across our strategies, and we also acknowledge that we have work to do. So we want you to take a look at how this looks across our annual report as well. So this is our first page, how we are cultivating student success. And what you'll see here is that a Pitt education is in strong demand. We had a record number of applications again this year. You'll see that our students are getting jobs. Our placement rates are surging to 98%. You'll see that our students are doing extremely well. In addition to having very strong placement, 45% of them are graduating debt-free, and our students are being recognized nationally and internationally for their excellence, as demonstrated by the prestigious honors they're winning, Fulbrights, Goldwaters, and others. They are workforce ready, they are recognized globally, and they're getting a very high value degree. So we would say that they are cultivated towards a very successful academic experience. Across the idea of scholarship, creativity, and innovation, or what it means to propel scholarship, creativity, and innovation, we've moved up again 2 spots in the rankings for research expenditures, from number 18 to number 16 nationally. We experienced a greater than 10% increase in total research expenditures. So we've not only broken the $1 billion mark, we are up to $1.25 billion for the year. So we are in the most elite company amongst the American research universities. We also climbed from 16 to 14 in the patent rankings and remain a top 10 powerhouse in NIH funding, which you will see examples of throughout the assembly, and at number 6 amongst U.S. universities, which you see reflected across this page of the annual report. On the next page, in our commitment to being welcoming and engaged, this addresses a variety of ways in which we look at what it means to be a place where people want to be, where people feel at home. So we talk about how we reached our agreement with our faculty. We talk about how Forbes recognized us as one of the best in-state employers, how we are seen globally, how we earned the C. Peter McGraw Community Engagement Award, the very best award in community engagement that a university can win, and as examples of who we are, and that we also won for the 7th time in a row, Excellence in Diversity Award. On the notion of being accountable and trustworthy, we look at our economic impact and want to share that data with the community. We are looking at our footprint and our campus master planning, our brand story and that we are storytelling, and our rankings and how the world sees us. And then last but not least, our moonshots and our possibilities, or that it's possible at Pitt. And here, of course, we tell the story around BioForge, sustainability, digital futures, and assistive technologies, and the tremendous work that faculty like Rory Cooper and Jose Alan Sahel are doing. All of this is available online. You can click through and look at the stories. I encourage you to take a look. It allows us to be transparent, but also tell our story and see how all of this comes together. It also allows us to do it in a dimensional way. We can use different platforms, different media, and because we have brand architecture now through It's Possible at Pitt, we can use things like video, and we have started to do so. So we have our first video, which of course we anchor in our cornerstone, which is always our students, student-centered, and I'd like to play that first video for you now.
We wear it with pride. Shout it from podiums.
Hail to Pitt. Hail to Pitt.
And prove it out time and time again. It's possible at Pitt. Now we have an opportunity to give these words even deeper meaning by making Pitt possible for all. Because it's not enough to just welcome one of the largest first-year classes in university history. We must ensure that every student from any background has every opportunity to pursue whatever they want to pursue. Thankfully, there's a plan in place to increase access and affordability and eliminate financial barriers for students in need, to help more upper-class students reach the finish line when they meet unseen hurdles, to go dollar for dollar, matching federal Pell Grants to the tune of more than 139 million big ones, to continue opening doors and kickstarting careers, to expand our programs, enhance our support systems, and meet our students where they are, literally, online, in the workforce, and on multiple platforms. Possibility is what drives us, but let's not forget, students are what make us. They are the ones at the center of our mission. They are the ones who will meet the world's needs. We are the ones who can make their possible possible.
So we look forward to showing you other ways in which we're able to leverage this story, tell this story, be transparent about how we're moving forward through different initiatives, outcomes, KPIs on the website, in annual reports and otherwise, and we'll provide you updates on our progress at future board meetings. And with that, Mr. Chair, I conclude my report.
Thank you for your annual report, Chancellor, and I think I speak on behalf of the board when I say quite a report it is. The level of work that was done this year, the amount of work, and the successes that have been achieved this year under your leadership and that of your team is greatly, greatly appreciated. And your report will now be transmitted to the governor and to the legislature, critical partners of ours in maintaining the access and affordability to in-state students and their families here at the University of Pittsburgh, and I'm sure they will have a similar reaction to it, so thank you very much. Next, if there are any questions for the Chancellor, please feel free. Seeing none, thank you again, Chancellor. We'll now move on. As I mentioned earlier, we're pleased to be meeting in the Assembly today. The Assembly is home to many of our health science researchers. And as such, we've invited Dr. Anantha Shekhar, Senior Vice Chancellor for the Health Sciences, and the John and Gertrude Peterson, Dean of the School of Medicine, and Dr. Jeremy Rich, Interim Director of the UPMC Hillman Cancer Center, to share an update with the board. Dr. Shekhar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And also thank you all to the board for joining us in this beautiful facility and giving us time to present some of the health sciences updates to you. First of all, I want to welcome all of you to this most recent and the most gorgeous research facility that the health sciences has. This is also one of your proud buildings and our house for regular research in cancer areas. It is home to the NCI designated Comprehensive Cancer Center of University of Pittsburgh and UPMC Hillman Cancer Center. Also home to the Department of Immunology and Immunotherapy. And of course, it's a great sort of monument to the history of this building. This is a building that almost a century ago began building Model T cars for the Ford factory, and this is where they were being assembled and shipped off to all over the country. But today, this is where some of the latest cancer therapies, in fact, what we call CAR T cells, are being discovered and will, in the next couple of years, be manufactured from discovery here to the assembly that we just talked about. So there is an amazing symmetry and importance in this. Health sciences have been outstandingly successful, as you saw in our research prowess. The 6 health sciences schools are all ranked in the top of the country. In fact, nursing school was just released that it was ranked number 4 in the country. We also have roughly $1 billion of research funding across the health sciences. And about 1/5 of that happens in this building. It is all about cancer research, cancer immunotherapy, and a number of great discoveries and cures that we find here. And then it's right next door to the Hillman Cancer Hospital, that is the Shadyside Hospital. So this is where a lot of physician scientists work in their labs and take it to the clinic next door. And it's a great testament to our partnership with UPMC as well. So it's my pleasure to call on our interim director, Dr. Jeremy Rich, who's a neuro-oncologist and also an exceptional cancer researcher, who we were happy to steal from sunny San Diego, UC San Diego, to come and be a professor and was the deputy director of the Cancer Center for many years. And with the departure of Dr. Bob Ferris to University of North Carolina, he has stepped up and is now the interim director. So he will present to you some of the exciting science that is going on in this building. Jeremy.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to personally welcome all of you to the coolest building here. By coincidence, my lab works here. So the history of the Cancer Center is really one that started with a single office. Ram Herberman, who actually discovered one of the key aspects of the immune system. That linkage to the immune system has been carried forth since the first start in 1985. We've had now 3 Cancer Center directors. This year has been really an exciting opportunity for us to grow with the launch of a new oncology graduate program that I'll touch on later. But in the last couple of years, we've really started to grow into this building, which has been a great opportunity for us. So this is our leadership right now. As mentioned, I am a neuro-oncologist, which means I treat brain tumor patients. We have another group of associate directors who help run this very complex cancer center. And as mentioned, we say goodbye with a bittersweet note to Bob Ferris, who's led us for the last 7 years. So cancer centers are set up in what are called programs. These are thematically related groups of individuals. These are the real leaders who help us manage those groups and really push us forward in the growth of our cancer center. And these are the faces just in the last year that we've recruited. So you can see that in a real diverse group of individuals, many of whom are patient-facing, but all of whom have research as a focus. The most exciting thing, I would say, is these group of people. We originally suggested that we would shoot for 5 graduate students in the first year. We have 17. Just showing you how exciting the opportunity is to really grow the trainee population here. So we are quantitative in our measures in the Cancer Center, and what we can see is since the last time we were judged by the NIH, we've had consistent growth in funding, the personnel, and also the size of the space that we control. So we don't think about patients, we think about the catchment area, which is the actual community that we serve, and that's about half of the state of Pennsylvania. And we really care for a large number of patients. I routinely have patients who come 4 and 5 hours to come see me in clinic twice a week. And we are cognizant of the impact of cancer specifically in certain areas and are trying to not just treat cancer, but prevent it as well. And this is one example. All of us remember last year, the Palestine train derailment, and we are leaders in trying to assess the impact of this on the cancer risks. We train many individuals. There's formalized NIH programs called training grants that we help shepherd through the process here in the Cancer Center. And there are 3 SPOREs, which are collective groups that are focused on specific cancer types to try and translate the bench to the bedside in terms of new therapies. So I had the pleasure and honor of leading the strategic planning process, and these are the 6 cross-cutting themes. You will note that all of these are touching to our community, and it's really key that we think not just about cells in a dish, but how those kinds of approaches can really change the health of our community. One of the ways we're doing this is setting up a survivorship program. We tend to think about active care, but the reality is that fortunately many of our patients live long term, but the cancer and its treatment has an impact, and so we want to not just study this, but improve the outcome of our patients. We start from very basic kinds of science. Patty Presco's on the 5th floor of this building. And she studies how the ends of the chromosomes, called telomeres, are involved in aging and the response to damage to our DNA. Ben Nassif is a physician scientist who takes care of what are called sarcomas. These are usually in children, but occur in adults as well. And he's studying how DNA is wrapped up and how that might reveal new therapies. You cannot see my tie, but I'm a dinosaur nut. This is not one of my patients, but actually a brain tumor in a dinosaur. I tried to name one of my kids T-Rex Rich, but I was overruled. And so we studied the role of metabolism in brain tumors in this study, and we studied specifically cancer stem cells, and we found something called lysine, which is an amino acid, and its degradation was enriched in these. And so I won't walk you through the story, but essentially what we were able to find is that by breaking down this lysine, these cancer cells have the ability to resist normal therapies and evade the immune system. So you might ask why I'm bringing in the dinosaurs, where there's, any of you who are interested in Jurassic Park, there's something called the lysine contingency, which unfortunately the movie didn't touch on very well, but all the dinosaurs required lysine specifically so that they may be maintained. And at the end of the movie, they actually go off and find lysine sources so they can invade the United States, I guess, eventually. Well, this is just not a theoretical. The fact is that we actually constrain lysine in the treatment of neurologic diseases, particularly children. And so we did the experiment in mice and basically restricted lysine input and then treated with a new immune therapy, PD-1, which is a way that we treat patients. And we were able to see that we could extend lifespan. And so now we've just received an NIH grant this month to start taking this to patients. So this is just one of many stories. So here, there are other groups. Greg Delgoff is in this building on the 4th floor. He studies how metabolism reprograms the immune system in cancer. His extraordinarily talented wife, I'm sure their kids are going to be brilliant, studies how the microbiome, that is the bacteria and the viruses, are able to reprogram the immune system and regulate the responses to immune therapies. We've learned recently from the work of Nicole Sheff that head and neck cancer patients who often suffer from pain will get morphine, and that morphine itself will actually repress the ability of our immune therapies to work, and so she's working on overcoming that. And then Divakar Davar is an individual who is trying to take forward all these ideas and put them into clinical trials, and really seeing that we can start seeing patients do better. We mentioned immunology. The 3rd and 4th floors have immunology faculty members. And Dario Vignali, who's the chair of immunology, found what is called now the 3rd checkpoint, one of the ways that the immune system is repressed by cancer. And this is a remarkable example. 3 papers in one of the highest impact journals all are showing how this functions in cancer. So mentioned artificial intelligence, machine learning. We're now using this in order to be able to find the patients who actually can have better outcomes based on things that were not previously represented. So we are starting to appreciate that not every patient is like one another. And the UPMC system works in partnership with us, and we use the healthcare information, the electronic health record, to now actually try to push patients' care into better directions. Katie Schmitz is also on the 5th floor here. She is the world leader in how exercise is actually involved in oncology care. And she's won numerous awards, actually. She's the only lifetime presidential recipient in exercise oncology ever. We are now leading clinical trials. Again, the immunology aspect is one of the major ways we're doing this, and this is actually showing how in Pittsburgh we're leading all of cancer care. And finally, the mention of cell-based therapies. Uday Kamala is leading the development of immune therapies that are cell-based. So in this building and others, we have the infrastructure, which often doesn't get the glory, but is critical to all these stories. And the individuals in this building and in other buildings nearby are world leaders, and these are just some examples of the honors and the recognitions just in the last year that individuals have received. So one of the ways that this is then transmitted is the endowed chairs, and we've had 5 endowed chairs. Finally, I just want to point out that reaching out to the community through a fundraiser called Rush to Crush, this was a very successful 2nd year this year in this process. And the funds that are derived from this go to supporting not just investigators, but individuals in the community and the idea of incubation of new ideas. And so we look forward to the future, hopefully a very near-term future, looking at implementation of the strategic plan. We're trying to find a new cancer center director and work towards renewing the grant. That's always one of the key things that a cancer center director does. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shaker and Rich. And at this time, any trustees wish to make offer a question or make a comment, please. Trustee Claggett.
Yes, Dr. Rich, thank you. Great presentation. I'm going to ask you a really broad, open-ended question. When you look at the history of medicine and science and its impact on human life and the community, if you look at the history of it, so let's talk about cardiovascular disease. The 1990s was the decade of impact of cardiovascular disease, percutaneous intervention, PCI, so forth, and extending life, improving quality of life. And what an impact. Today we find immune therapy in the same role that we saw cardiovascular intervention in the 90s. So can you speak to the impact of immune therapy on society in general, and specifically on the quality of life, the extension of life, but also the role that we as an institution in the region will play in shaping that?
Thank you for that great question. So, you know, the immune system has been by some characterized not just fighting off, we think about viruses and bacteria, but actually cancer is a key issue. And so as we age, as time goes, that's the number one risk factor for cancer. And we've done so well, as you mentioned, in cardiovascular medicine. We've really not progressed in the same rate with cancer care generally. You know, glioblastoma, which is what I treat bread and butter, we've really kind of hit a wall. And so rather than thinking of us using poison or radiation, which is basically what we do most of the time, thinking about the immune system in partnership is really key. We are known nationally here in Pittsburgh based on our contributions in immunology. We have leaders, all over the place in that space. And so one of the challenges we have is to understand this incredibly complex system and to kind of shape it. We've already seen great benefits from a number of different approaches, but this is going to be an ongoing challenge that will probably take us till my retirement. So I think that this building actually represents that bridge concept of immunology and the cancer center. And even I, who hates the immune system because it's too complicated for me to understand, have now been pulled into this area. And so I think the economic, personal, and other impacts of what we can bring forward is just starting to be appreciated. And I think BioForge is a great example of how we can become national and international leaders.
Thank you, Dr. Rich. Other questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you both, gentlemen. And I'll simply observe that while you were kind in your comments relative to this facility, I think Dr. Rich did a tremendously good job at pointing out what matters the most. And those Pitt faculty, researchers, and the like, combined with our partners at UPMC, are a global powerhouse. So thank you so much, Dr. Rich, and thank you for all that you do. One of our long-standing traditions here is to invite the Pitt Alumni Association to share an update annually with us every fall. Today, Bill Pierce, president of the PAA Board of Directors, is with us. Bill is a two-time Pitt grad and former collegiate swimmer whose Panther pride runs deep. Over the years, Bill has helped to launch the Student Resource Fund at the Graduate School of Public and International Affairs, joined the GISPIA Board of Visitors, and supported the Trees Hall pool and locker room renovation project. Bill takes the torch from Rich Sidori, who now joins us as a trustee on this board and ended his service as a PAA president. Bill, thank you for being with us today. I hope your voice has recovered from homecoming last week. I know that that was quite an engagement for you, and we look forward to your report. So the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much. In West Virginia before that, so it's been a tough couple of weeks. Well, last week wasn't tough, but still lots of hooting and hollering. Good morning, members of the board, Chairperson Verbanek and Chancellor Gable. I'm Bill Pierce, as said, President of the Pitt Alumni Association Board, and it is a pleasure to be with you today. I want to thank you for the invitation today and to last night's dinner. I saw lots of faces I knew, some I didn't know, and some were a little bit unexpected but knew from other worlds that I live in. And I want to say I feel like, wow, what a daunting task, having heard from Chancellor Gable, having heard from Dr. Rich and Shekhar. It's, a daunting task because it's amazing what goes on here at Pitt, what's possible and what will be possible. But I'm going to give it a try. It's an exciting time to be leading the PAA in partnership with Vice Chancellor of Alumni Relations Nancy Merritt, as well as my 40 fellow board members. It's also an exciting time to be at Pitt as we start to explore what's possible, while also advocating for and promoting the innovative and game-changing things happening on our campus every day, as again, I think what we just saw. As you'll see, my update today centers on some of the key components of the plan for Pitt 2028 and how the PAA is already supporting them and working towards future growth. Before we dig in, I'll start with some data that illustrate the Alumni Association's impact on our global partner community, Panther community, of more than 350,000 graduates. In fiscal year 2024, the Alumni Association logged 62,242 unique alumni engagements. This represents a 43% increase over the previous fiscal year. But what does that mean? It's a big number, but what does it mean? What we are counting when we say unique alumni engagements, what are we counting? We use parameters and metrics set out by CASE, the Council for the Advancement and Support of Education, which is the leading educational advancement professional organization. So it's a standard. We're not making this up. Based on CASE's recommendations, we track and code alumni engagements into 4 categories, as you'll see up on the board: experiential, volunteer, philanthropy, and communications. Experiential includes things like attending homecoming last week, logging on for a professional development webinar, or buying season tickets to the women's volleyball, men's soccer, among other activities. Volunteer includes items such as supporting the global Pitt community as a board or committee member, mentoring fellow alumni or students, or hosting a regional alumni network event in your city. Philanthropy is pretty straightforward. Do you make a financial contribution to Pitt this year? And finally, communications. Were you featured in a profile story? Did you open Pitt Connection and scroll through it, clicking items of interest? Did you reply to a survey? Please do if you get one. Or let us know if you update your contact information. So when I say we had 62,242 alumni engage with us in 2024, that means we had 62,000 and some individuals do at least one of these things. I think that's important to consider to be an engagement. Most of them are engaging in multiple ways with the University of Pittsburgh. Within these numbers, there are some impressive programs aligned to elements of the plan for Pitt, which I want to highlight for you now. Cultivating student success. Again, going on along with what we heard Chancellor Gable talk about, this is the PAA's involvement. One of the main reasons our alumni give back and pay it forward is that we know that by doing so, we're helping to create a robust alumni network for ourselves, as well as for current and future generations of Panthers. Every graduate is an alumni, and we know that and pay attention to that. Knowledge of this strong network is a substantive reason for students when choosing to attend Pitt. These students also know that from enrollment to post-graduation, the university and its alumni work to ensure that each and every student thrives in whatever path they choose. To help these students create a solid foundation and gain a competitive edge on and off campus, the Pitt Alumni Career Network has enhanced digital platforms to ensure inclusive access for all, resulting in a 121% increase in connections on career platforms such as Ask Pitt Alumni and Pitt Commons. Fostered connections between student and alumni through formal mentorship programs, partnered with organizations like the American Association of University Women to address gender and racial equity in career advancements, and launched the Pitt annual Pitt Alumni Career Design Fellowship to assist those seeking career transitions. Taken together, these expanding efforts are helping the Alumni Association to cultivate alumni success and student success. Welcoming and engaging. As a university and alumni association, we continue to grow stronger by fostering more and more connections and nurturing opportunities for all members of the Pitt community. Throughout fiscal year 2024, and already with this year's activities like Welcome Week and Lantern Night, which I thought were amazing successes, we are enriching the Pitt experience with initiatives that increase our community's sense of belonging and boost engagement in the Pittsburgh region and around the globe. Last month, the Pitt Alumni Association welcomed nearly 4,000 attendees, including more than 3,700 first-year and transfer students and 200 alumni flame bearers, to the largest lantern night in the event's 103-year history. In the spring, we hosted the inaugural Black Alumni Weekend. A total of 250 attendees built community, reconnected with campus. The next weekend will be held in 2026 and continue on every other cycle. Throughout the year, the PAA staff has also continued to lay the groundwork for additional identity-based affinity groups. Promoting Pitt stories, and there are a lot of great ones out there. If all of these activities and numbers aren't impressive enough, I'll close with a few more. As a university, it's vital we continue to spread Pitt stories that share our impact on inquiry and discovery across countless fields and improve our world. In November, the PAA spearheaded a week-long schedule of activities tied to the Pitt-Syracuse football game in New York City. Pitt and New York City proved that we could leverage the football game as a backdrop and also achieve our goals related to career and professional development, programming, and identity-based affinity networks. A few months later, in May, the PAA and partners across the Department of Philanthropic and Alumni Engagement collaborated with the Office of the Chancellor and for Pitt and New York City, featuring Chancellor Gable. Together, we showcased the Chancellor's vision of the future, deepened attendees' sense of Pitt pride, and ended up with the highest event satisfaction score in the PAA's history. In closing, like all of the university units, the PAA is looking forward to utilizing a new brand activation. Alongside a fresh look and new wording that I'm sure many of you have started to see on billboards and in your social media feeds, I'm looking forward to see it in Washington soon. We'll be working to infuse specific goals and language into our efforts to show fellow Panthers and our partners in our region, nation, and world that what we're making possible at Pitt. This concludes my report, and I'd be happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Board, are there any comments or questions for Bill? Hearing none, Bill, I will observe that we're grateful and appreciative for our long-term partnership with the PAA, and you are indeed, and your 62,000 are our best examples of what it means to be Pitt. And we benefit here at this Board of Trustees with not only your immediate past president, Rich Sidori, serving, but a long-standing history of some of our best trustees, our most effective trustees being here, including Lisa Golden, our vice chairperson at the moment, Gary Brownlee, all immediate past presidents, and Jeff Condis down at the end of the table. So thank you for all the good works you do.
Thank you.
Oh, that's right, Val Injai. How could I have forgotten Val, who absolutely has the most appropriate Pitt colors on today, Val. How I missed that is I don't know, but it's my apology. Thank you. At this time, I'll ask Jeff Marchek, chairperson of the Property and Facilities Committee, to introduce our first action item today. Jeff?
Thank you, Chairperson Verbanet. Members of the board, earlier this week, the Property and Facilities Committee approved a resolution recommending Board of Trustees approval for the Thomas E. Starzl Biomedical Science Tower renovation for the Orland Bethel Family Musculoskeletal Research Center. The Orland Bethel Family Foundation has pledged a $25 million gift to be matched by the School of Medicine to establish the Orland Bethel Family Musculoskeletal Research Center. The center will elevate the university's study of disorders, including osteoporosis, degenerative arthritis, fragility fractures, and spinal pathology. The Orland Bethel Family Foundation's gift will fund the operation of the new center, the university's matching contributions to fund construction of the center, which will be located on the 16th floor of the Thomas E. Starzl Biomedical Science Tower. This $25 million project will be funded by School of Medicine Division debt and be repaid by the School of Medicine Division operating budget. As I mentioned, this item was reviewed and recommended for approval by the Property and Facilities Committee. I move that it be approved by the Board of Trustees as outlined in the resolution included in our materials.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A motion has been made. May I have a second? Are there any questions or comments? Seeing and hearing none, all of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you all. The resolution is approved. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I want to express our sincere gratitude to the Orland Bethel Family Foundation for this transformational gift and their related support to create the Orland Bethel Musculoskeleton Research Center Biobank, which you may have all observed and read about in the media this week. Quite an engagement, quite an investment, and we cannot express our appreciation to the Bethel family more. Up next, we have a special resolution of appreciation for David DeYoung. Before beginning, I'll just say that Dave's contribution to this university has been incredible, and his latest activities here have left some indelible marks on our campus, which I'm sure my colleagues will now describe. And with that, I'll ask Debbie Gelati, Chair of our Academic and Mission Committee, to kick off the introduction of this resolution.
Thank you, Chair Verbanek. Whereas David N. DeYoung has had a distinguished and remarkable career at the University of Pittsburgh, serving in academic and administration leadership roles spanning 35 years, and whereas Dr. DeYoung began his career at the University of Pittsburgh in 1989 as an assistant professor of economics in the Dietrich School of Arts and Sciences, followed by a promotion to professor in 2001, and serving as the chair of the Department of Economics from 2006 through 2010, and
whereas during his time in the Department of Economics, published more than 40 journal articles, co-authored the book Structural Macroeconometrics, and had his academic work supported by grants from the National Science Foundation and the National Council for Eurasian and East European Research. And whereas in 2010, Dr. DeYoung applied his extensive academic experience and insights when he became a member of the Provost leadership team, serving as Vice Provost for Planning and Resource Management. And
Whereas Dr. DeYoung provided consistent and compassionate leadership in 2012 when the university received approximately 160 bomb threats over 2 months, prioritizing the safety and support of the campus community during a difficult and disruptive time. And whereas in 2015, he was promoted to Executive Vice Provost and then selected to serve as Vice Chancellor of Human Resources, where he led the acquisition, retention, and growth of a diverse, high-performing workforce through a transformative portfolio of projects to reshape human resources at the university. And
whereas in that role, he created the University of Pittsburgh's first shared services center and implemented the compensation modernization initiative. And whereas at the February 26, 2021 winter meeting of the Board of Trustees, David DeYoung was elected Senior Vice Chancellor for the Business and Operations, an officer of the corporation, and became a key member of the Chancellor's senior leadership team. And
whereas during his tenure, Dr. DeYoung oversaw many key projects, including the new campus recreation and wellness center, the Hillman Library renovation, the acquisition of the former Pittsburgh Athletic Association, and the land purchase, tenant agreement, and construction start for Pitt's Bioforge. And whereas he initiated updates to the university's campus master plan, providing a strategic, flexible roadmap for future campus development based on evolving internal and external needs. And
whereas Dr. DeYoung effectively navigated the university's operation response to the COVID-19 pandemic overseeing new processes and procedures to ensure a safe campus environment for University of Pittsburgh community members. And whereas he chaired the fiscal year 2023 and 2024 University United Way campaigns, raising a 2-year total of over $1.4 million, the largest total raised at the university. And
whereas David N. Young has earned the admiration, affection, and respect of members of the Board of Trustees, as well as the university's administration, faculty, staff, students, and alumni, for his integrity, dedication, loyalty, and devoted service to the University of Pittsburgh. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees do hereby express their sincere appreciation for and profound gratitude to David N. DeYoung for his outstanding leadership and exceptional contributions to the extraordinary progress of the University of Pittsburgh. And
be it further resolved that the members of the Board of Trustees wish Dr. DeYoung continued success as he returns to the faculty of the University of Pittsburgh, and be it further resolved that this resolution be made a permanent part of the university's records, and that it be suitably inscribed and presented to David N. DeYoung as a symbol of gratitude for the leadership that he has provided and the high regard in which he is held by his many friends and colleagues at the University of Pittsburgh.
May I have a motion to approve the resolution as presented by our colleagues?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. The resolution is passed. Please join me in a round of applause for David. And David, would you please come forward and join the Chancellor and I. Thank you. David, congratulations. You know, as I was sitting here, I thought I left Bill Pearsoff a little easier before when I was articulating the shoes that had come before him on our board that have made great contributions. And as I sat here, I started thinking to myself, wait a second, this didn't end with the 4 immediate past presidents. And I'm looking around the table and I see Eva Bloom, Jack Smith, Bob Lovett, Martha Munch, Roger Glunt, who I don't think is here today, but these are all past presidents of the, well, I said Jeff on the first trip through, so I got that one right. But just to observe all the contributions that have been made to this university and to this board by the PAA over the years. So thank you all, and Bill, that sets you up for a tall order. So with that, we've completed our agenda and our business, and I will ask if there is any additional business to come before the board today. Hearing and observing none, we stand adjourned. Thank you all.